In this video, I'll show you how to use Google Sheets to edit spreadsheet data for our statistics class. For example, I have a spreadsheet here that you might see in some of your activities. First thing I'm going to do is copy it into my own Google account so that I don't accidentally mess it up for the rest of the class. So I'm going to go to File, and then you can either make a copy if you're already logged in to your Google account, or you can also download it as an Excel spreadsheet file. All of these commands that I'm going to show you in Google Sheets work pretty similarly in Excel. You might have to look around into a slightly different menu, but more or less there's a lot of similarities between the two programs, which is really great. I'm going to make a copy of this sheet, and I'm going to copy it and then I'll rename it, and I'm just going to call it example and then push OK. So it opens up a new tab, and now I have my own copy of the Google Sheet where no one else can edit it. So first thing you might see in the Google Sheet is that all of the columns, while they have similar numbers, you might notice that there's a lot of left aligned and right aligned values. The reason why that is that if there's regular words in a cell, it's going to move them to the left of the cell, and then if it's plain old numbers, you'll move it. Excel or Google Sheets will automatically align the number to the right. So what we need to do is make sure all the data is consistent per column. So one way to do that is to literally type over all of these cells that have words in them and make them just a plain old number. I have found that it's easy to sort the data first and then make all your changes, so you're not having to skip through cells. So if you click on the triangle up here in the corner and scroll down, you can see Sort Sheet A to Z. So I will do that, and notice that the whole entire spreadsheet was sorted because it needs to keep the rows of data matched with all of across the columns, because all of that data belongs to one student. You don't want to mix and match students and all their responses, because then your data is worthless after that. So in this first column, how many minutes does it take you to get to school? It sorted them smallest to largest. So alphabetical doesn't just mean A to Z, but it also means 0 and then increasing. So now at the bottom of my column here, I have all of those words, and now they're all grouped together and I can go through and change them all. So 10 to 15 minutes for someone to get to school, drive to school. I didn't write a very good question. How many minutes does it take for you to get to school? They said 10 to 15, but sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 15, maybe it's even more than that. And they give me a pretty specific answer, but it's not one that I can actually use because it's a range of numbers. So I'm going to make an executive decision and say I'm going to use 12.5. So I'm just going to split the difference of this time, push enter, and now I have a number. Maybe on a different day I would have said let's use 10 because that's the minimum number of minutes that it takes them to get to school. Or maybe I would toss out the question altogether if all of my data was really terrible and all over the place, and then get better data. But this is what I have to work with. It is just for an example. It's not scientific, going to be published, so I'm just going to go with 12.5. So all these other cells, I'll have to retype 15, 15, 15. One way to make that go faster is when you click on a cell, grab the corner and then just drag it down as far as you need it, and then the cell will copy that 15 all the way down. So here's another one, 15 to 40 minutes. So that's a total of 55 divided by 2. So that's what, 27.5 minutes, I believe. 2 hours. This is a good one. So this is in hours, it's not in minutes. So they gave a nice answer, but the units are wrong. So I need to change that to 160. And then I just keep on going all the way down through the rest of the column. I'm going to take that 20 and drag it down. So here's another one, 25, 20, gosh, 21 to 30. So that'd be, what, 25.5? And keep on going until I have finished with the column. So I still have a few more to go, but you get the idea of sorting your data first and then making changes to all of those cells. I'm going to quickly run through the rest of them. 26 hours. That's going to need to have some more math done to it. 10 minutes, hour and a half. NA. Well, that's interesting. With an NA, I'm going to delete that because they said that it's not applicable to drive to school. So I'm not sure what that means. Maybe they live really far away. Maybe they live at school. Maybe they gave me an answer where they lied. I'm not sure, but I'm just going to delete it and call it blank. Let's see, online, but it would take me 3 minutes. Okay, so I don't think the person quite understood the question in that they didn't answer my question exactly, but it seems like they're saying that they go to school online, so it might just take them 3 minutes to get to school. 0 minutes, that's also interesting. I'm gonna put down 0 because that's what they said. It was a real answer. All right, let's move on to another column. I'm going to look at the gender column, and I'm going to do the same thing before. I'm going to sort the sheet. Okay. The reason why I did that is that in this column, we need to make sure all of the capitals and lowercases match because otherwise they're treated differently. So if I look at this column, I see F, capital female, lowercase female. Excel or Google Sheet is going to treat that as 3 different responses when we know that those are probably the exact same things. It's just that people had freedom to fill in the blank as they wanted to, so they wrote it differently. What I would do is pick one of those labels, whether it's F, capital female, lowercase female, just whatever I decide, just be consistent throughout the entire column. 27 doesn't make sense. I suspect someone was just typing in numbers, so I'm going to delete that. If I were doing an analysis, I might want to mention what I just did and then why, so that someone else knows, oh, they took it out for this reason, and not just because I'm trying to lie with the data. I'm going to stick with this F because it's at the top of the column, easy enough, and just drag all the way down till all the female words end. And then I have M for male. And again, it's totally okay to use the entire word. You don't have to just stick with one letter. And then again, with the non-binary, I'm going to use lowercase since I was consistent about lowercase. There we go. Another way to sort the sheet is to click on data and then sort the sheet by a specific column. So I like to use this when I want to get a better feel for the data. So not just sorting within the column as I've clicked, but I can highlight an entire column and then click data and then sort by column C and then A to Z or Z to A if you want to see biggest number down to smallest number. One clever way to use the sorting is that you can sort by one column and then immediately sort by another column. So data, sort. And what this does is it kind of preserves the order. So notice I'm sorting by cars. How many cars have you owned in your lifetime? But because I had sorted a different column, there's a little bit of the order still preserved. Of course, students are matched to students, same way. But as I move from the zeros, I see these numbers are sorted small to large. When I move to look at the ones over here, then these are still sorted small to large. So I can get a sense for, if someone has 0 cars, I get a feel for how many piercings they have in their body. Then I can go to the 1 car that you've owned. And then, how many piercings did they have? And I can start to look for patterns. Another feature of Excel and Google Sheets that you might want to use is to format your columns. So this was set up to be as it was, but let's say that you don't like seeing the text wrapped around. You can change that by clicking on the edit. See, was it edit menu? Where did that go? Format. Format, text wrapping, and I have it set to wrap, which means that you'll be able to see the entire question within the cell. If you don't want that, you can click it to overflow, and then you just have one nice little line, but you don't get to see all of the questions. So format, and then text wrapping, go back to wrap. And that's how I prefer to look at it. And then when you adjust the cell width, that also wraps around. You can shift it up and down. All right, the last thing that I want to tell you about is the formatting of the cells. So sometimes when you have data that might have a symbol in it or maybe has decimal places and you want to be consistent, you can format all of your highlighted values so they look the same. So I'm going to click on format and then number, and I could specifically pick number with 2 decimal places, and then it changes all of those numbers to now have 2 decimal places, whether it's there or not. If you want to shift that higher or lower, the decimal places, you can go up to the menu bar here and say decrease decimal places or increase decimal places, which is kind of nice. If you want another shortcut to get to the formatting, you can click the 1, 2, 3. Sometimes you want to see dollar signs or not, or if you want plain text, that's also useful, like over here for those categorical variables. It's nice that you can pick number because sometimes when you've edited a spreadsheet and there used to be words in a cell and then you typed in numbers, sometimes, especially in Excel, it gets a little crazy and it kind of forgets that that's a number and it treats it as a word instead. So if I typed in 30 right here, maybe just to be on the safe side, I'd go back to format this to a number so that I'm really sure that I'm working with numbers and not accidentally some words, because Excel won't work on math problems when you have words in them. You'll get an error of some sort. All right, so that's a long enough video to tell you how to work with Google Sheets or Excel to sort of sort your way around through that data set, and then it'll get you set up for analysis later on in the class. If you have any questions, let me know. Bye.